Visitors can find her by following the light she burns at dusk. She warms her back against the chimney as she waits for the new visitors. All different kinds of orphan dangles from her shawl, statues, trinkets. Each one holds a story that she guards and keeps safe.
I've come to lay my burden down. That year, it was a rough season, the coldest I'd ever made it through. I'd gotten a late start that morning when I made my first cast, and when I finally hoisted it onto the deck, it was tangled up. When I cast my net the second time, I struggled to pull it up, but when I did, a rotten smell came up with that made me sick. A great black horse, dead and rotting, reared up to the surface. I barely knew what I was doing when I made my third cast. I sat there over the water waiting to see what might come up next. As I dragged the net back up from the dark water, I saw what I had caught. Without thinking, I set to prying it open like I wasn't even in charge of my own hands anymore. And as soon as the lid gave way, a thick fog began spilling out over the sides and flowed up into a column. Well, I'd heard stories of this woman before. Folks called her Annie Christmas, and she was a boat captain up the big river. The men on that water were all stone scared of Annie because she was tough. One day, Annie took a trip on a great riverboat. And as evening turned to night, great clouds rolled across the sky and the waters began boiling underneath, and it wasn't long before the boat ran up on a sandbar. The captain raged at his crew, his clothes drenched in sweat, and he admired the strong, terrible man. But before she knew it, he'd snapped at her too. "Get the hell out of here, you crazy woman. Giant bad luck cursing the weather against us." And right then, Annie jumped over the side and she was gone. The captain and crew were never heard from again, but then neither was Annie. All vanished from sight, and they were gone forever.
I remember when the time came to take tea to my own nanny.
Here you go, Teddy Bill. Are you okay, Teddy Bill?
I learned everything I know from my nana just by watching her. Keep your eyes watching me, Peanut. And when the time comes, you'll know everything you have to do.
What do you mean, Teddy Bill?
Well, I'm preparing myself my last story.
Why?
For Mother Shannon.
Who's Mother Shannon?
Mother Shannon is the woman you go to tell your story when you have no one else in this world to tell. They say when you don't give your story away, your spirit can't move on. All you have to do is tell Mother Shannon your story for the last time and have an offering for her. And the will just to be free. But bring me some of those leaves from over there, just in case. Careful. You're not careful.
It's just a squash, Teddy Bill.
Is it hurt? You never know, Peanut, if things are what they look like they are. I'm going to tell you a story that was told to me a long time ago about an old widow that lived on the other side of the mountain.
My husband left me in the lonely shadow of that mountain. The shame of it was, he left me without any children to look after, or to look after me. That day when I was working in the field, I heard the sound of large wings land on the fence behind me. When I looked up, a man was there. He had 3 seeds in his hand, which I planted. By the next week, fully ripe squash hung from them, and they were the biggest gourds I've ever seen. I picked all 3 and set them to dry out. At the end of the day, I couldn't believe what met me. The kitchen was swept and clean, and dinner was hot on the table. The next morning, I decided to hide at home, and it was only a few minutes later that I heard rustling from the hearth. The gourds started to shiver and shake, and soon they sprouted heads, then arms, then legs. Right before my eyes, they changed shape until they were no longer gourds, but children. Soon they started doing chores. When they finished the work, they began to help each other back up onto the hearth. Wait! You don't have to turn back into gourds. I can take care of you. That was the first night we all ate dinner together, as a family. They were just so helpful. Well, except Johnny. He was lazy, unlike the others, and spent most of the time just sitting by the stove where I first put him. He got so bad that one day, he tripped me. Haven't I told you to stay out of my way? You're nothing but a hollow-headed gourd! The very next moment, the boy was gone, and a gourd sat in his place. The other children stopped what they were doing, and also turned back into gourds.
Wait a minute. Ghosts and walking squashes? They can't be real. They're just stories.
You never can know what's real until it happens to you. Come here. It's okay to have doubts. But sometimes the things you can't believe is more realer than you know.
Let me make you some more tea.
Where'd you get that?
I thought I
can't let you do that. These needles are the only thing that stand between us and the boo hag.
I used to be the kind of woman that slept in one spot and woke the exact same way with the next sunrise, but not anymore. I haven't had bed nights like this since I was a little girl with my mama. And I have a strong feeling that Boo Hag has something to do with it all over again. Back then, I had some good looks to me. The summer I was 15, I caught the eye of the best catch in town. He had already caught the eye of Yvette, the meanest, nastiest living girl around. She was just so mean, it made her spirit ugly. Folks say that there were times at night where she would peel back her skin layer and set her ugly spirit out to walk all by itself. Her ghost would steal my skin layer while I slept Many days passed this way, and each time she deposited some of her evil ugliness into my skin before she gave it back. I lost weight, and my skin lost its light. My hair began to gray. My soul had no rest for a long month, and my body was never permitted to lie still. My mama caught wise to what was going on, even though I couldn't tell her out loud, and decided to put a stop to it. First, she sprinkled the floor with salt so she could see footprints when Yvette's spirit creeped in across the room. Then, as she sat, she counted out 33 needles, not less and not a one more, and set them on the bedside next to a bottle and a cork. As the moon passed behind the clouds, the sound of crunching salt signaled that ugly spirit's arrival. With a flick of her wrist, she scooped that spirit up and then put 32 needles into that stopper. The next morning, I felt refreshed. I even got a little bit of light back into my skin. That hag was clean gone. Her spell was already sliding off me. My mama had caught her spirit in that bottle the way her own mama showed her how. As long as I keep this bottle safe, she won't ever get out. But these days, I'm getting older, and I'm losing sleep again. The people of this generation, they don't know the tricks. They don't understand or believe the way my mama knew when we were growing up. My own children and grandchildren laugh at me. I'm fearful that no one will protect the bottle or its story when I'm no longer around to keep it.
Do they ever come back out of the woods? Then how do you know that this all happened? I knew it. I knew these were just stories. I bet nothing will happen if I pull these out of this bottle.
My spirit have always been here for those who needed me the most. And right now, child, that's you. Just like all those other peoples that passed their stories on to me. Now, I pass my story on to you. And it is your job to keep these stories. I am Mother Shannon. Now, you are.
I will keep your stories safe.